Hey, everybody, what's going on, man? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley, and welcome to Steelers Almighty Report Card Edition. Look, Pittsburgh Steelers, great win, 37-15 over the New York Jets. A dominant performance in the second half. Got off to a little bit of a shaky start, but once the Steelers got rolling on both offense and defense, they put this game away, scoring on their last 5 drives, stopping the Jets from scoring on their last 5 drives. It just turned into a dominant performance, man. We're going to break down all the position groups and coaching and give them a grade like we always do on Monday. So before we get there, remember, like, follow, subscribe, continue to leave those comments, and always hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. Again, Steelers Almighty, the fastest growing Steelers channel on YouTube today. So we appreciate all the support that you guys have given us. Thank you very, very much. Let's get into this, man. So look, quarterback Russell Wilson started off slow, you know, but he got it together, man. He got it together. And he did what a lot of people have been asking for all year: throw the ball down the field, give receivers an opportunity. We saw that the first couple of weeks with Justin Fields, and then we didn't see it anymore. It was like, what happened to the deep ball? And you can say that the plays weren't called. Okay, fine. But what I do know is that it just didn't happen anymore. Russell Wilson immediately went into, I'm going to get this thing going. I got to throw the ball deep. He had his one dump off. And look, it looked bad early. What was he, like 2 for 10? I know he was 1 for 8. Had 2 balls in the dirt, at least 2 balls in the dirt at that point in time. So it looked bad. That throw to Calvin Austin on that RPO, that was one of the worst throws I think I've seen an NFL quarterback make maybe ever. So rust was a real thing, but once he got it going, man, he got it figured out. The thing that I like most, other than giving guys opportunities to catch the ball, because Russ throws a very catchable football. That's number one. Number two was, the way that he commanded at the line of scrimmage. Made sure that the protections got flipped if they needed to. Got in and out of good plays. If we're running right, they got too many guys over there. We need to run left. He just took control of the line of scrimmage, which I'm not saying Justin Fields didn't do that. It just looked different. It just looked different. It looked and felt different. Guys responded to it. Look, I mean, we can say whatever you want about Russell Wilson, and there were some plays that he didn't make with his legs. I get it, that Justin Fields 100% would have made. But the good outweighed the bad, and there were several plays that Russell Wilson. And here's the one thing. This is what I'm going to stop doing. I'm going to stop comparing the two. Russell Wilson is the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback until further notice. So there's no reason to keep going back and forth and comparing the two. I'm going to stop doing that. It's over. This is what it is. Until he gets replaced, there's no reason to talk about the backup quarterback anymore. There's just no reason to do that. And because of that, I'll apologize and I'll stop doing it. But Russ, to me, gets a B plus. I know a lot of people were going to say that he gets an A, but we can't forget how the beginning started. We just can't forget how the game started. And maybe that's being nitpicky. You know that I like to nitpick, but give him a B plus. I thought Russ was phenomenal in this football game. Moving on to running back. Najee Harris, again, had a strong showing, people. Running hard. I know the Jets' run defense isn't the greatest, but it's still pretty good. They still got some guys up front that can do, and linebackers that can run. The Steelers ran the football. Najee ran really hard. Jaylen Warren looked like his former self. He had 14 touches. He's the perfect complement to Najee Harris, especially in a game like this. I'm not saying Jaylen is back to 100%, but he definitely looks better than what he did last week. Had way more explosion. So I think the more that he gets going, the better this offense can be. He was a great safety valve a couple of times for Russell Wilson out there. Just Jaylen Warren, again, the more he gets going, the better this offense can be. I'm going to give the running back room, I'm going to give it an A+. I didn't see anything out there that's going to tell me, oh, okay, well, the running backs didn't play well. Yeah, they did. Najee Harris played well. Jalen Warren played well. So you got to give those guys credit where credit is due. Again, we'll crush Najee when he doesn't play well. We crush him. When he does, got to give him credit. This second week in a row, we're giving him credit. A plus for the running backs. Moving on to wide receiver. Look, I don't think it's any doubt that everybody knew that George Pickens had this type of ability. And he said it before, hey, just throw it up, just give me an opportunity. And he makes the crazy catches. People crushed him, but it wasn't unwarranted. The lack of effort, we saw it. The lack of concentration, dropping passes, we saw it was a real thing. Not taking accountability for your bad play. The interviews, it was there. We saw it, you know, but it's this kind of effort and this because it's like when he gets the ball in his hand, he does give the effort. He does. He cares. It'd be one thing if he didn't care. He does care. Now, maybe it's a selfish care where he wants to put up good stats. Who doesn't? Who the hell doesn't want to put up good stats as a wide receiver? Of course he does, But the one thing that you can't deny, the Steelers are better when George Pickens is involved. Period. End of story. They are a better football team when he is involved. So let's get him involved more often. Let's just throw him the ball. 50-50 balls when you throw them to George Pickens turn into 65-35 balls. He's there. He's that guy. He can make those catches, concentration. He played an outstanding game, and so did other guys. I love how they got Darnell Washington involved. He had 4 catches. They threw the ball down the seam or up the sideline, whatever you want to call it, to Pat Freiermuth. I love seeing that. I'd like to see a little bit more targets to him, but we spread the ball around. The only bad thing that the wide receivers did was the one bad drop by Calvin Austin. He made another catch in the game. But one thing that goes unnoticed, and it's not going to go unnoticed by me. You guys know how I feel about blocking. Van Jefferson was doing his thing, digging out those safeties on run plays. When we were lining up in 11 personnel, he was in there doing his thing on run plays. On 2 of Najee's big runs, he is in there digging out a safety, man, which is absolutely his job. That's why I gave the wide receivers an A. That for that reason alone, obviously they did this stuff in the passing game, but when you get guys down there that are going to go block to help your running game, you got something going, man. Give the wide receiver room an A. Offensive line. Look, Broderick Jones, it wasn't a perfect game. I wouldn't even go as far as to say it was a good game because it wasn't. But you know what was good from Broderick? Effort. It was effort. It looked different than it has the last 3 weeks. The last 3 weeks, you could say he played bad and it acted like he didn't care. He wasn't giving the effort. You can't say that about this game versus the Jets. I know he gave up a sack. I know he gave up several pressures. I understand all of that. But the first part of what we talked about with Broderick Jones was give the effort. Okay. If you're going to get beat, at least you're giving the effort. And again, there's several plays in there, which is why people get so frustrated. And I keep saying that over and over, but it's the truth. It's why we get frustrated because he's so good. He's so talented. There's several plays that you guys are going to see in the All 22 when you check that out tomorrow. And make sure you do if you haven't, or if you don't, make sure you do. Broderick Jones is blowing people off the ball, wiping people down. I mean, there's a play where he hits a guy and then he sits on him. I'm like, this is Broderick Jones, man. I mean, he's got the ability. He's got the ability. He's just got to show it all the time. He's just got to, maybe he needs to just learn how to be a pro. I get it. He was very raw out of Georgia, but this was a better game for him. Better game from him. McCormick and McCallum, look, him and Siamalu, they had their hands full inside. I mean, Quentin Williams is a top 5 defensive tackle in this league. And when I say top 5 is a stretch. I don't know that you can name 5 better. That's what I'm talking about. 5 is a real stretch. It's probably top 3. Well, if that's the case, Kinlaw isn't a slouch himself. I mean, They will cause you some problems inside. And those guys fought their ass off. It wasn't perfect. We know that's never going to be perfect with McCormick this year, man. It's never going to be perfect with him. But you know what is going to be? His effort, his enthusiasm, his hustle, his fight. McCormick is that guy that's on the opposing football team that's constantly nagging, hitting just after the whistle. Nothing dirty, nothing illegal, but constantly. He's that guy. And I'm glad he's on our football team because those are the worst guys to play against. The guys that just keep going. That motor just keeps going and going and going. Love it. And McCollum, for somebody to start in the position that he had to, Zach Frazier being out, and for him to do the kind of job, look, it wasn't perfect. Some of it looked quite ugly from time to time, to be honest with you, but he got the job done. He battled his ass off, man. And that's all you can ask. Look, those guys are more talented than him. He's a backup because we have another guy that's better than him. He's coming into the game, but he battled and he fought. And sometimes in the NFL, just fighting and being in the way is enough, you know. So you got to commend them for doing that. So those three guys inside did their job. Dan Moore, not his greatest game. Not his greatest game. Better than last week. Better than last week was kind of pathetic by him, but better than last week, but not his best game. We need to get Dan Moore back to those first 3 games of the season. We need to get him back there. If we can get him back there, I think we got something. So give me a B for the offensive line. Again, guys were just battling. And then for the offense, look, the second straight week, they scored over 30 points. They scored 37 points. I believe it's the first time they scored 37, the most points they scored since 2021. It was just a great effort. Look, the Jets defense is a good defense, number 7 in the league coming into the football game. And I don't want to hear about the injuries that the Jets have in the secondary. I just don't want to hear that, people. The Steelers are missing 3 starting offensive linemen in this game. 3. And nobody gives us grace. So why do we have to give somebody else grace? We don't. I won't. So too bad, so sad. It's football. Injuries are a part of it. I love what the Steelers did. Scored on their last 5 possessions of the football game. Just really put the hammer down. Scored 24 unanswered points. Good for them. Give me an A- for the Steelers on offense overall. Now let's move to the defensive side of the ball. Not a ton of stats, but you're not going to in the Steelers defense. But again, to clarify, I count the edge rushers, our outside linebackers, in with the defensive line because they do more of that. Plus, we play a ton of nickel, so that's where they're rushing from. So I count them in the defensive line. Again, TJ Watt, they put so many resources over to block him. They just said, we're not going to let this guy wreck the game. We're just not going to do it. Alex Highsmith was kind of doing his thing. Should have gotten at least 2 holding call penalties that he didn't get. One, he got tackled. It was just right out in the open, just tackled. But the ref, it's okay to tackle him. We're not going to call it. Just mind-blowing. But for the defensive line as a whole, Larry O did his thing early. Keanu Benton showed up. Keanu Benton had been missing the last couple of weeks. He showed up. Defensive line did good. They did good. Batted down several passes. Cam Hayward is being Cam Hayward. Look, they didn't run the ball for very many yards. The Steelers' D-line is a big part of that, not getting pushed off the line, even when double teams come, holding their ground. Give me a B for the defensive line, man. Did a good job. Moving on to linebackers, look, Peyton Wilson did his thing. It was shaky early, people, for all the linebackers. Running into each other, not tackling. It was shaky early, but they got it together. They settled down. It was almost like they just needed to settle down a little bit. Well, they did, and then they started making plays all over the football field. Peyton Wilson led the team in tackles with 10 tackles, 6 solo. His breakout game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. I would look for him to get more and more reps, not just now. The Jets played a ton of 11 personnel, even a ton of 10 personnel, if you can believe that, a ton. So Peyton Wilson's going to be out there. Elena Roberts, coverage is not his thing. So there was a lot of Peyton Wilson was out there a lot. So he had to make some plays, and he did. He did. Like I said, it was shaky early, but they settled down, and the linebackers kind of did their thing. Patrick Queen was out there directing traffic. Um, I'll give the linebackers some grace, man. Give me a B for the linebacking crew. Give me a B for the linebacking crew on the day. Did a really good job. Then moving on to the DBs. Um, Look, they had a lot of passing yards, but I would say that a lot of those were empty calories because they didn't result in points. Early on, Brees Hall with that long catch and run, that wasn't on the secondary. It was the linebackers running into each other. And they got some plays. I mean, look, those guys get paid too. They're professionals. You can't shut people just out. They gave up a lot of passing yards, but it only resulted in 15 points. And when they needed to make plays, they made a play. Beanie Bishop, come on, man. Come on, man. We've been on you. Steelers Almighty's been on you. All of Steeler Nation's been on you. And what do? You stand up and you make plays in this football game. Good for Beanie Bishop, man. Good for him. He needed a breakout game, and this was it. Hopefully, this gets his confidence going. And again, while I don't think Aaron Rodgers is that good of a quarterback, his wide receivers are Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard. You can even throw Mike Williams in that. That's a really good receiving core. Really good receiving core. So for the DBs to do what they did, give them credit. Give Beanie Bishop credit. Give Joey Porter Jr. credit. Dante Jackson got hurt. Give all of them credit. Deshaun Elliott, oh my goodness. I mean, how much of a lifesaver has he been? To be able to keep Mika back where he can just be a ball hawk and play center field, to keep stuff in front of him. How good is it to have him, especially in our nickel package, where you don't have to bring Mika down to cover a slot guy, where he can do it? Or when they try to run the ball out of the nickel, Deshaun Elliott is there to make tackles, when we have a light box. It's just, he's been an outstanding pickup in free agency. Outstanding. Give me an A for the secondary. And again, I know people are going to say you're crazy. They gave up a ton of yards. Again, empty calorie yards. The last 3 drives, empty calorie yards for the Jets. So the yards didn't matter. They literally didn't matter. I like what the secondary did. Again, that long catch and run by Brees Hall, that wasn't a secondary issue. Now, the tackling was a problem, but they figured that out. So give me an A for the defensive backs. So the defense overall, like I said, the Jets didn't score on the last 5 drives of the football game. They didn't score a point, not 1 point. The defense settled in. Like I said, the secondary guys did their thing. Beanie Bishop picking off 2 passes. One of them was incredible, by the way. It just was. Down the middle, he's got his back turned. He turns around, sticks one arm out, and catches the ball. Just an incredible interception. And again, a huge confidence boost, not just for him, but I think for the entire defensive staff. Because now they're like, okay, this kid's taking his lumps. Maybe he's starting to turn it around. It's just one game. But sometimes all you need is one game to get it all figured out. Give me an A for the defense, man. I like what the defense did. I like what they did. I know you're going to say, well, you gave 2 Bs and an A. Well, the overall performance of the defense, give me an A for it. I thought, or even an A minus. But I like what they did, man. Just to be able to shut down that offense and do what they did, not allow them to run the football at all. Good for the defense, man. And we needed it. Now, going to special teams, look, first of all, I say it every week. We have the best kicker in the league, and we do. 3 more field goals, didn't miss, didn't even come close to missing. Boswell, just automatic. He's been automatic. Corliss Waitman, again, what do you have? 3 inside the 20, he averaged 46 yards a punt, a long of 55. We hate punting the football, but isn't it good knowing that you got a guy out there that can, number one, get some good hang time, get it out of there when we need to, versus the last 3 years, we had no idea where the ball was going. No clue whatsoever. So he's been a godsend, especially since Johnston got hurt. Great punting. Special teams, again, blocking 2 kicks. 2 kicks, not 1. We blocked 2. I don't want to hear that nonsense, you know, that call on Mika Fitzpatrick. That was garbage. Leverage. He touched TJ Watt's helmet after he was already jumped through the hole. He had already jumped, and so he touched his helmet. He didn't use it for leverage. It was clear as day. I have no idea what the ref is thinking. It was absolute nonsense. It was just nonsense. We blocked 2 kicks, but then again, Donnie Smith, he's that guy, or Danny Smith, excuse me. He's that guy. He's just that guy. So, I mean, old guy, loves special teams. They work extremely hard at it in practice, and it's paying off each and every week for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Special teams gets an A plus, and then we go to the coaching. Look, I you can say whatever you want about Mike Tomlin. You can be mad about playoff losses here and there, but we're talking about this game specifically. And since we're talking about this game specifically, Mike Tomlin gets an A plus. The reason that he does is because he put it all on the line for this game. He risks losing the locker room, getting crushed by the media, which he probably doesn't care about that, losing the front office executives, the trust of his coaches. He risked all of that and put a guy in that hadn't played when your team was 4-2 and leading their division. He risked it. Now, they probably see more in practice. Obviously, they do. And maybe he's like, you know what? I know what I've got here. I got to get this guy out on the football field because he gives us a better opportunity to win more football games. So it worked. It's 1 week, but all we're talking about is this week. We'll worry about next week. But for this week, give Mike Tomlin the credit that he deserves. He made the call. It worked. He gets an A plus. He gets an A plus. So, and overall for the Steelers, look, the Steelers it was a great performance. It was a performance that was needed in a situation where they needed to win this football game. You can't make a quarterback change and then go lose. When you're 4-2 and you take out your starting quarterback, who, by the way, isn't playing bad. I'm not saying he's playing great, but he's playing okay. Better than okay. In a few of those games, he played good. One bad game I think he had. That's it. And even in that bad game against the Cowboys, he led them down the field and took the lead and gave the Steelers an opportunity to win. Defense gave that away. So you make a coaching or a quarterback change, you can't go lose this football game. You can't. Well, they didn't. They didn't. So to me, and the way that they did it in the dominating fashion, look, there's two halves to a football game. In dominating fashion, that score at the end of the half really set the tone for the rest of the game. Give me an A for the Pittsburgh Steelers overall, man. Give me that A. They did it. They made it work. Again, I don't want to jump and give everybody a bed of roses and pull wool over people's eyes. I understand this is just 1 week. But for this 1 week, we can be happy and we can understand that the Steelers played excellent football. They get an A. So remember, everybody, the All 22 is coming out tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in. We break down the offensive line with some plays with the All 22. Again, if you haven't, make sure you subscribe. If you are, like, follow, comment, all that good stuff, man, and hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. We appreciate you guys. Thank you, and we will talk to you soon. Aloha.